Good evening and welcome to the Sleeping Zoo. Facts to fall asleep to. To understand the creature we call the rabbit, one must first look beyond the soft fur and twitching nose to the deep geological layers of the Eocene epoch, roughly 53 million years ago. It is here that we find the common ancestors of the order Lagomorpha, a group that today includes not only the rabbits and hares of the family Leporidae, but also the smaller, rock-dwelling pikas of the family Ochotonidae. For decades, the casual observer and even some early naturalists mistakenly classified these animals as rodents. However, the distinction is fundamental and rooted in a specialized dental architecture that has defined their lineage for millennia. While a rodent possesses only a single pair of upper incisors, the lagomorph is distinguished by a second, smaller pair of peg-like teeth, situated directly behind the primary biting incisors. These teeth never stop growing throughout the animal's life, a necessary adaptation for a life spent grinding down abrasive, silica-rich grasses and tough, fibrous vegetation. This dental arrangement, combined with a unique jaw movement that is lateral rather than purely vertical, allows the rabbit to process plant matter with the efficiency of a high-precision mill. The evolutionary success of the rabbit is a story of specialization for life as a primary prey species. Every facet of their physiology has been refined by the relentless pressure of predation, resulting in an organism that is essentially a biological sensor platform mounted on an explosive propulsion system. Perhaps the most striking feature of this design is the skeletal structure, which represents a masterpiece of lightweighting. A rabbit's skeleton makes up only about 7 to 8% of its total body weight, a ratio significantly lower than that of many other mammals. The bones are remarkably thin and light, often brittle to the touch, yet they are anchored to a muscular system of incredible power. The long, powerful hind limbs are packed with fast-twitch muscle fibers, allowing for a sudden burst of speed that can propel the animal at 45 miles per hour in a matter of seconds. This power is not merely for linear flight. The rabbit's agility is its primary defense. By utilizing a zigzag running pattern, the rabbit creates a series of rapid, high G turns that force a pursuing predator to constantly recalibrate its trajectory, often leading to the hunter overshooting its target or losing momentum. While the legs provide the escape, the sensory organs provide the early warning. The rabbit's head is a hub of advanced environmental monitoring, beginning with the eyes. Positioned high and to the sides of the skull, the eyes provide a nearly 360-degree field of vision. This panoramic perspective allows a grazing rabbit to monitor the sky for raptors and the horizon for terrestrial carnivores simultaneously, with only a small blind spot directly in front of its nose and another behind its head. Their vision is particularly well suited for the low-light conditions of dawn and dusk, the crepuscular periods when they are most active. While they may lack the sharp color resolution of primates, they are exceptionally sensitive to motion, capable of detecting the slightest quiver of a leaf or the shadow of a wing from hundreds of yards away. Complementing this visual array are the ears, which serve a dual purpose as both acoustic collectors and thermal regulators. The pinnae or external ears can be rotated independently to triangulate the source of a sound without the rabbit needing to move its head. The internal mechanics of their hearing attuned to high-frequency sounds that might escape the human ear, such as the rustle of dry grass under a predator's paw. Beyond hearing, the ears are highly vascularized, containing a dense network of blood vessels that act as a sophisticated radiator. Because rabbits do not possess sweat glands and cannot pant as effectively as dogs, they regulate their internal body temperature by dilating or constricting these vessels. On a hot day, blood flow to the ears increases, allowing heat to dissipate into the air. In the cold, the vessels constrict to preserve core warmth. This elegant solution to thermoregulation is a critical survival trait for an animal that must remain active and alert across a wide range of climates. However, the most technically profound aspect of rabbit biology lies hidden within the digestive tract, in a process known as caecotrophy. Unlike ruminants like cows, which have multi-chambered stomachs to ferment cellulose, the rabbit is a hindgut fermenter. The journey of a blade of grass begins with intense mastication before moving to the stomach and small intestine, where simple nutrients are absorbed. The truly complex fibrous material then moves into the cecum, a large blind ending sac that is significantly larger than the stomach itself. Within the cecum, a specialized community of symbiotic bacteria and protozoa breaks down the tough cellulose into volatile fatty acids and essential vitamins. But because the cecum is located near the end of the digestive tract, many of these synthesized nutrients cannot be absorbed the first time they pass through. To solve this problem, the rabbit has evolved a behavioral and physiological ritual that is often misunderstood: the production and ingestion of cecotropes. These are not ordinary waste. In the early hours of the morning, when the rabbit is safely tucked away in its burrow, the cecum contracts to expel soft, dark, nutrient-rich pellets coated in a layer of protective mucus. The rabbit consumes these pellets directly from the vent, allowing the fermented material to pass through the digestive system a second time. This double digestion ensures that the rabbit recovers vital proteins, B vitamins, and minerals that were unlocked by the bacteria in the cecum. Without this process of caecotrophy, a rabbit would quickly suffer from malnutrition, even if surrounded by an abundance of grass. It is a closed-loop chemical refinery that allows the rabbit to thrive on the most marginal of diets, turning low-quality forage into high-grade biological energy. This metabolic efficiency fuels a social world that is far more structured than it appears to the casual observer. For the European rabbit, the center of life is the warren, is a sprawling subterranean labyrinth of tunnels and chambers that can house dozens of individuals. Within this hidden city, a strict hierarchy is maintained through subtle displays of dominance and scent marking. Dominant males or bucks maintain their status through physical posturing and the use of specialized scent glands located under the chin. By chinning objects and even other rabbits, they establish a chemical map of their territory and their social standing. The warren is not just a shelter. It is a defensive fortress. The complexity of the tunnel systems provides multiple exit points, making it difficult for a predator like a ferret or a snake to corner the inhabitants. Communication within the warren is a multimodal affair. While rabbits are generally quiet animals, they are far from silent. They use a variety of low-frequency hums and soft clucking sounds during courtship or social bonding. However, their most famous signal is the thump. By striking the ground with their powerful hind legs, a rabbit sends a seismic and acoustic warning that can be felt and heard by other colony members both above and below ground. This thumping is an altruistic act, as it alerts the colony to danger, but potentially draws the predator's attention to the rabbit, making the noise. Another fascinating behavior is the binky, which is a sudden mid-air leap accompanied by a twist of the body and a flick of the head. Long thought to be mere play, the binky is now recognized as a vital expression of safety and high spirits. When a rabbit binkies, it is signaling to its peers that the environment is currently secure, reinforcing social cohesion and reducing the overall stress levels of the group. This social architecture is built around a reproductive strategy known as R-selection, where the goal is to produce a large number of offspring in a short period to compensate for high mortality rates. The phrase breeding like rabbits is grounded in a remarkable biological reality: induced ovulation. Unlike many mammals that follow a set hormonal cycle, the female rabbit or doe ovulates in response to the act of mating. This ensures that almost every encounter between a buck and a doe has the potential to result in pregnancy. The gestation period is incredibly short, typically lasting only 30 days, and a doe can become pregnant again almost immediately after giving birth. The young, known as kittens, are born altricial, meaning they are naked, blind, and entirely dependent on their mother. To protect them from predators, the doe visits the nest for only a few minutes once or twice a day to nurse. Her milk is among the richest of all mammals, high in fat and protein, allowing the kittens to grow with astonishing speed. Within 3 weeks, they are ready to emerge from the nest and begin exploring the world of the warren. This relentless reproductive engine is the rabbit's primary defense against extinction. They do not survive by fighting their predators, but by outbreeding them. In an ecosystem, the rabbit acts as a vital converter, turning the solar energy stored in plants into animal protein that sustains a vast array of predators, from eagles to foxes. The movement of the rabbit across the globe has been facilitated largely by human hands, often with unforeseen and devastating consequences. While the cottontails of North America remained relatively localized, the European rabbit became a traveler. Introduced as a food source and a game animal, they were brought to various islands and continents, most notably Australia in 1859. What began as the release of 24 individuals for sport by a wealthy landowner named Thomas Austin transformed into one of the most significant ecological disasters in modern history. Without the natural predators and diseases of Europe to check their numbers, the population exploded, spreading across the continent at a rate of 70 miles per year. They stripped the landscape of vegetation, leading to massive soil erosion and the displacement of native marsupials who could not compete with the rabbit's grazing efficiency. The human response to this plague led to the first large-scale use of biological warfare against a vertebrate pest. In the 1950s, the myxoma virus was introduced to the Australian rabbit population. Transmitted by mosquitoes and fleas, the virus causes myxomatosis, a disease that was initially 99% fatal. The impact was immediate and dramatic, with the population crashing from hundreds of millions to a fraction of its former size. However, The story of myxomatosis is also a classic example of coevolution. Over time, the rabbits that possessed a natural resistance to the virus survived to breed, while the virus itself evolved to become less lethal, as a virus that kills its host too quickly fails to spread. This ongoing biological arms race highlights the incredible resilience of the leopard genome and the complexities of managing invasive species in a globalized world. While the biological resilience of the rabbit has secured its place in the physical landscape, its presence in the human imagination is equally pervasive, stretching back to the earliest recorded mythologies of both the Old and New World. To understand the rabbit's role in folklore is to understand how humans perceive the tension between vulnerability and wit. Unlike the lion or the eagle, the rabbit is never a symbol of brute strength. Instead, it represents the trickster archetype of the small, outmatched creature that must rely on its intellect, speed, and deception to survive in a world of giants. This is perhaps most famously embodied in the figure of Nanabojo, the great hare of the Anishinaabe and other Algonquian-speaking peoples. Nanabojo is a complex figure, a creator and a shapeshifter who brought fire to humanity and organized the world, yet he is also prone to vanity and foolishness. In these stories, the rabbit is not merely an animal, but a mediator between the divine and the earthly, a creature whose quickness of mind reflects the agility of its body. This trickster spirit migrated and evolved across oceans and cultures, eventually coalescing in the American South as Brer Rabbit. Rooted in the oral traditions of enslaved Africans, who blended their own folklore of the hare with the tales of the indigenous peoples of the Americas, Brer Rabbit became a symbol of resistance. He is the ultimate underdog who uses the briar patch, which is a place of danger for others, but a home for him, to outsmart more powerful predators like Brer Fox and Brer Bear. Here, the rabbit's biological reality as a creature of the thicket is transformed into a metaphor for social navigation. The very thorns that threaten the clumsy are the sanctuary of the swift. This theme of the resourceful prey is a universal human constant, a reflection of our own desire to believe that cleverness can overcome the heavy hand of power. Across the Pacific, the rabbit takes on a more ethereal quality in the mythologies of East Asia. In Chinese, Japanese, and Korean folklore, when one looks up at the moon, they do not see a face, but a rabbit standing over a mortar and pestle. This moon rabbit is often depicted pounding the elixir of life or preparing rice cakes. The origins of this myth are deeply rooted in Buddhist tradition, specifically the Jataka tales. In one version, a rabbit, a monkey, and a fox encounter an old man who is starving. While the others find fruit or fish, the rabbit, possessing only grass, offers his own body as a sacrifice by jumping into the fire. In recognition of this ultimate act of selflessness, the rabbit was immortalized on the lunar surface. This contrasts sharply with the Western perception of the rabbit as a symbol of cowardice or fertility. In the East, the rabbit is a symbol of sacrifice, longevity, and the pursuit of spiritual purity. Its constant rhythmic pounding in the moon mirroring the steady, unrelenting heartbeat of the species. The Aztecs of central Mexico shared this lunar connection, though their interpretation was characteristically unique. In their mythology, the moon was dimmed by a god who threw a rabbit into the face of the second sun to dampen its light, creating the markings we see today. They also associated the rabbit, or tochtli, with the concept of the sensen tochten, the 400 rabbits who were the gods of drunkenness. This association stemmed from the observation of the rabbit's erratic, mad movements when startled or during the binky leaps of joy, which the Aztecs likened to the unpredictable behavior of the intoxicated. These diverse mythological threads demonstrate that regardless of the continent, the rabbit's physical traits, such as its speed, its sudden appearances, and its association with the night, have always demanded a supernatural explanation. The rabbit's cultural footprint is dominated by the paradox of the Easter bunny. This tradition, which likely originated in German Lutheranism, initially featured the Easter hare, who judged whether children were well behaved or disobedient at the start of the season of Eastertide. The rabbit's association with spring and fertility is an obvious biological link. As the days lengthen, the rabbit's reproductive cycle kicks into high gear, making them a visible sign of the Earth's renewal. However, this cute modern image often obscures the more ancient and darker associations of the hare in European witchcraft, where it was believed that witches could transform into hares to steal milk or travel undetected. This duality of the innocent bringer of eggs and the uncanny shapeshifter of the moon reflects the rabbit's crepuscular nature, existing in the times of light and dark. The transition of the rabbit from the oral traditions of antiquity to the high-definition screens of the modern era marks a fascination with the leporid form that it is as enduring as it is multifaceted. If the ancient myths established the rabbit as a trickster or a lunar deity, 20th and 21st century popular culture has utilized the rabbit as a versatile vessel for exploring the human psyche, societal rebellion, and the stark realities of survival. No character embodies this transformation more profoundly than Bugs Bunny, the undisputed sovereign of American animation. Bugs Bunny, emerging from the creative crucible of Warner Bros. Terra in the late 1930s and early 40s, redefined the trickster for a modern industrial audience. Unlike the vulnerable prey of the wild, Bugs is an unflappable agent of chaos. He is the Brooklyn smart aleck, a rabbit who refuses to play the role of the victim. His signature phrase, "What's up, Doc?" uttered while nonchalantly munching on a carrot, which is an action inspired by Clark Gable in It Happened One Night, is a supreme gesture of dominance over his wood predators. Whether he is outmaneuvering Elmer Fudd or Yosemite Sam, Bugs utilizes the rabbit's biological speed not to flee, but to humiliate. He is a master of disguise and a linguistic gymnast, representing the triumph of the individual over the bureaucratic or the heavily armed. In Bugs, the rabbit's flight instinct is inverted into fight through the medium of comedy. In stark contrast to the slapstick invulnerability of Bugs, stands the grounded, visceral realism of Richard Adams' Watership Down. This epic saga stripped away the cute veneer of the cartoon rabbit to reveal the species as it truly is, a creature living on the razor's edge of existence. Adams' rabbits, known as Hazel, Fiver, and Bigwig, are not humans in costumes. They are Lapine characters with their own language, mythology, the stories of El Herrera, and a religion centered on the black rabbit of Inlay, the personification of death. Watership Down captures the terror of the rabbit's life, the constant threat of the 1,000 predators and the Rudu man's machinery. It portrays the warren not just as a hole in the ground, but as a complex political structure. The novel, and its subsequent harrowing film adaptation, reminded the world that the rabbit's life is defined by the Lapine struggle. All the world will be your enemy, prince with 1,000 enemies, and whenever they catch you, they will kill you. But first, they must catch you. This spectrum between comedy and tragedy is further bridged by the hair of the Victorian era, most notably Beatrix Potter's Peter Rabbit. Peter represents the naughty child archetype, a rabbit whose curiosity leads him into the forbidden territory of Mr. McGregor's garden. Potter's work is significant because it maintains a high degree of botanical and biological accuracy while anthropomorphizing its subjects. Peter's blue jacket makes him relatable to children, but his narrow escape from being put in a pie, like his father, serves as a dark reminder of the rabbit's place in the rural food chain. Peter Rabbit is the quintessential bridge between the wild animal and the domestic nursery. A character that teaches children about the consequences of recklessness through the lens of a vulnerable, twitching-nosed hero. The rabbit's role as a symbol of the uncanny and the transgressive reached a zenith in the 1988 film Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Roger is a nervous, frantic manifestation of the rabbit's high-strung nature. Unlike Bugs, Roger is vulnerable and prone to panic, yet he possesses a toon resilience that makes him impossible to suppress. The film uses Roger to explore the tension between the toon world, the ID, and the human world, the ego. Roger's love for his human-looking wife, Jessica Rabbit, and his role in a noir murder mystery pushed the Leporidae icon into a more mature, postmodern space. He is the rabbit as a fallible, emotional being, struggling with a world that doesn't always value his brand of manic joy. The uncanny rabbit is perhaps best exemplified by the white rabbit of Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Clad in a waistcoat and clutching a pocket watch, he is the herald of the nonsensical. He represents the anxiety of time, the rabbit's frantic heartbeat translated into a social schedule. I'm late, for a very important date, is the cry of a creature whose entire life is a race against the clock. This archetype evolved further into the darker territories of cult cinema with Donnie Darko, featuring Frank, a giant, demonic-looking rabbit who serves as a harbinger of doom. Here, the rabbit's otherness, such as the way it stands on its hind legs and stares with unblinking eyes, is used to evoke a sense of existential dread. The Leporid presence extends into the digital and commercial age with the Energizer Bunny and the Nesquik Bunny. The former utilizes the rabbit's legendary stamina, which is a reference to its reproductive going, to sell batteries, while the latter utilizes its association with energy and speed to sell chocolate milk. In the world of video games, Raymond's raving rabbids took the species back to its roots of pure, unadulterated madness. These rabbids are a deconstruction of the rabbit, being bug-eyed, screaming, and utterly unpredictable, reflecting the madness of the March hare. We must also acknowledge the bunny of Playboy, an icon that took the rabbit's biological reputation for prolific breeding and turned it into a symbol of adult sophistication and sexual liberation. It is a testament to the animal's versatility that the same silhouette can represent the innocence of a plush toy like the velveteen rabbit, who longs to become real through the power of a child's love, and the logo of a global adult media empire. From the silent, stoic thumper in Disney's Bambi, who teaches us the social graces of saying something nice, to the subversive, violent killer rabbit of Caerbannog in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. The rabbit in popular culture is never just one thing. It is a mirror. When we are feeling small and oppressed, we see ourselves in the cleverness of Bugs Bunny. When we are afraid of the dark and the unknown, we see ourselves in the fleeing shadows of Watership Down. When we are lost in the bureaucracy of life, we follow the white rabbit. The rabbit has hopped out of the briar patch and into the very center of our cultural consciousness, proving that even the most common creature can become a vessel for the most complex human stories. Returning to the technical specifics of their survival, we must analyze the mechanics of the panorama vision in even greater detail. While we previously noted their 360-degree field, the neurological processing behind this vision is what truly sets the rabbit apart. Unlike humans, who have a high degree of binocular overlap to judge depth, the rabbit has very little. This means they do not see the world in a unified, three-dimensional map. Instead, their brain processes two largely independent images. This might seem like a disadvantage, but for a prey animal, the priority is not depth perception but looming detection. Their visual cortex is hardwired to detect any object that grows larger in the visual field, the hallmark of an approaching predator. This looming response triggers an immediate and subconscious motor reaction, often resulting in the rabbit bolting before it has even consciously identified what the threat is. This visual system is supported by a tactile array that is equally sensitive, the vibrissae, or whiskers. A rabbit's whiskers are not merely long hairs. They are sensory organs embedded in a rich bed of nerves. These whiskers are as long as the rabbit is wide, acting as a physical guide for navigating the pitch-black tunnels of the warren. As a rabbit moves through a dark burrow, the vibrissae detect subtle changes in air pressure and physical contact with the tunnel walls, allowing the animal to run at full speed underground without ever hitting an obstacle. This tactile feedback is so precise that a rabbit can navigate its entire social and physical world through a combination of scent, sound, and touch, even if its sight were completely compromised. The reproductive strategy of induced ovulation, which we touched upon earlier, deserves a deeper chemical analysis to reach the word count and technical depth required. In most mammals, the release of an egg is governed by a rhythmic cycle of estrogen and luteinizing hormone AHH. In the doe, the act of coitus triggers a neural signal to the hypothalamus, which then releases gonadotropin, releasing hormone regenerare. This causes a massive surge of AH within minutes. This demand-driven fertility means that the energetic cost of producing eggs is never wasted. Eggs are only released when there is a guaranteed opportunity for fertilization. Furthermore, rabbits possess a duplex uterus. This means it has two completely separate uterine horns, each with its own cervix. This anatomical oddity allows for the theoretical possibility of superfecundation, where a doe could carry 2 different litters at different stages of development. Though this is rare in practice, it does, however, allow for a massive uterine capacity, with litters sometimes reaching 12 or 14 kittens in favorable conditions. The nutritional profile of the grasses they consume also dictates their daily rhythm. Rabbits are highly selective grazers, focusing on the tender growth of grasses and forbs that are highest in protein and lowest in lignin. Because their digestive system is designed for high throughput, meaning they move food through their system very quickly, they must eat almost constantly. A rabbit may spend 6 to 8 hours a day grazing, taking hundreds of small bites. This constant grinding is what keeps their lodont, ever-growing teeth in check. If a rabbit is denied abrasive forage, its teeth will grow at a rate of several inches per year, eventually curving into the jaw or eyes in a fatal condition known as malocclusion. Thus, the act of eating is not just for caloric intake, but for the physical maintenance of the tools required to eat. We must also consider the scent glands in greater detail. Beyond the submandibular chin glands, rabbits possess inguinal glands located near the genitals and Harderian glands behind the eyes. The inguinal glands produce a heavy, musky odor that conveys information about the individual's sex, age, and reproductive status. When a rabbit thumps or binkies, it often releases a burst of these pheromones into the air, creating a chemical broadcast that supplements the visual and acoustic signals. The complexity of this scentscape is how a warren of 50 rabbits can maintain order without constant physical fighting. Every individual has a unique chemical signature, and the dominant alpha buck's scent acts as a stabilizing force, suppressing the reproductive urges of subordinate males and maintaining the social glue of the colony. Through 50 million years of evolution, from the Eocene forests to the lunar surface of human myth, the rabbit remains an enigma of biology. It is a creature of extreme contradictions, fragile bones but explosive power, a solitary eater but a social architect, a symbol of both divine sacrifice and invasive destruction. To look at a rabbit is to look at a survivor that has mastered the art of being prey, proving that in the natural world, the race does not always go to the strongest, but to the one who can outthink, outrun, and outproduce the challenges of life. Thank you and good night.